Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monster Party. I would like to introduce my robot friends.
SHAWN SHERIDAN.
In case you haven't guessed, the topic is robots.
My sensors indicate an intruder is present.
Oh, watch out, everyone!
Danger, Will Robinson.
Robots!
Yeah!
Monster Party robot!
By the way, that was a toy talking. We don't actually have
That voice.
Yes,
No.
in the studio.
But we love robots.
But we love robots, yeah.
Robot movies, robot
We love
toys,
I love robots
robot
in every
stories.
robot porn.
You
robot.
have a robot in your house.
Robot.
I do. I have you. You have more of them.
I do, but they don't clean the floor.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a robot in my house that I'm not aware of. Did you put a robot in my house that cleans my floors? Because it's doing a really shitty job.
I love robots.
Yeah.
Robots are fantastic.
So we're going like the robots like through cinema and television, right?
Cinema, television,
or
Media,
even
entertainment,
comic books,
in general,
anything.
yeah,
all the things
cartoons.
that we like, and so
Yeah.
we need to establish some ground rules right off the bat, which is so. What do we when we talk about robots? What kind of robots? How far does that term go? Like
all the way.
We're going all the way with this.
We're going all the way, man.
It's
Oh shit,
Till
Thelma!
the wheels fall off
Let's
and
go.
burn.
So are we talking, in other words, like
Androids.
androids gets into robots?
See, I
Well,
guess, I
an
guess.
android is a robot, right? It's a
Yeah.
it's a human-looking artificial
Yeah.
person,
It's
right?
just a really good robot.
Right.
yeah.
But it's like, how far do you go? Is like, are you getting to like computer type robot or like a robot?
Like a
Well, that's a very good-
computer?
yeah, exactly.
Right? Is Colossus
Like Colossus, the
Forbidden
Forbidden
Project? Is that a
Yes.
robot?
Like a
Yes, it
demon
is.
seed.
Now let's
Yes.
see,
Demon
Proteus.
seed?
See, now we're already jumping into it right now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just
Hell
wanna
yeah.
say-
Is Hal a
Yes.
robot?
Yeah,
Yes, he
that's
is.
true.
Well, see,
Maybe-
these
yeah.
are all
It's
we're
artificial intelligence.
mentioning names of all these robots from all these different films.
Right.
That is true.
So Hal from 2001,
Mr. Stating the obvious.
No,
I've already got him going.
Danger.
See, it's already gone off the rails.
Now, Larry, I actually see Larry as sort of an authority on robots because
No.
he's got the biggest robot collection
Yeah,
I've ever
yeah, as
seen.
far
of
as-
But does he
robot
understand them?
collectibles.
probably
I
not.
hope
He
so.
has them, but does he talk to them?
I would say one of the greatest robots ever made. I think one of the coolest robots ever is from 1956 Forbidden Planet.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, not familiar. Yeah.
Great robot, Robby the Robot.
That's
Forbidden,
not real.
Forbidden Planet was directed by Fred Wilcox, screenplay by Cyril Hume, and it has one of the coolest robots in there.
Iconic
because-
robot. The first celebrity robot, right?
Yes, it
Yes,
really is.
that is true.
He actually went on to make other appearances.
Oh my gosh,
in
Sean!
TV shows and
he
right?
did. He did. He's actually one of the most popular tin toy robots ever. You know,
Right, right.
because when that film came out, what's really interesting is there were a bunch of toy companies that decided to make a tin robot of Robby the Robot
Right.
without getting the license from MGM.
Oh, okay.
At the time, and there were a lot of there were these toy companies.
Planet Robot.
Yes,
And-
Planet Robot. Yes,
Right.
and Mechanized Robot.
Right.
There are these Japanese toy companies that made like a 12-inch tall Robby the Robot, and actually probably the most famous and actually the most desirable one is the Space Patrol. There's actually
that is
car.
great.
That car
There's a
like in
car.
the movie.
It's gold.
That's
yeah,
terrific.
in the movie Forbidden Planet. Robby pulls up when the spaceship lands, and he pulls up in this little vehicle.
Yeah, it says, "Hi, girls."
Well, kind of. Well, the toy, it's just like that
Yeah, it's awesome.
contraption. And what was interesting is MGM saw that this toy had been made, and they went out and they found that company and said, "Damn it,
Did
you guys
they?
better!"
Wow,
Yeah,
so
they did.
I didn't
They threatened to
even
sue.
back then, they were like,
threatened to
wow.
sue. Back then, they threatened
Like
to sue.
nowadays, of course, that would happen.
But see, Sean, that's the thing. That particular toy, because they were caught, they were told not to do it. They stopped making them.
They killed
And
everybody
That
at the
particular
company.
toy is so incredibly valuable
Wow.
now. So if you have one,
And
out
you have
there-
it, right?
Well, what I have is there was a reproduction that was made back in
Okay,
the 90s.
I'm done listening to you.
Guys, you don't understand. When that reproduction was made, they used the exact same molds.
But not the same ones.
And but see, here's the funny thing: they only made 500 of those, and now
So even
that
those now
reproduction
are-
has
right.
gone up, and it's crazy.
Wow,
Matt. It's
wow.
crazy. But Robby the Robot he went on to do a ton of
Yeah, well, let's
TV
be-
shows.
Yeah, what's that,
well, he did like 3 Twilight Zones. He was in The Man
Lost
from
in
Uncle.
Space.
He was in 2 episodes of Lost
That's
in
right.
Space.
He was in one of my favorite episodes of Columbo.
That's
Oh, that's
He
correct.
actually performs the murder, I believe, in that
Yes.
episode.
He's in Behind the Green Door.
Yeah, of course.
No, he's not in that film.
He was in another
I'm sorry.
feature film. The only other feature film, though, as far as I know, right, was The Invisible Boy, right?
Yes,
That's the only
yeah,
other feature
right.
film after Forbidden. In fact, if I remember correctly, that movie was advertised as, and the robot star of Forbidden Planet, Robby
right.
the Robot,
That's
was
right.
in that
Robby
movie,
the
right?
Robot.
Welcome to Altair 4, gentlemen.
Yes.
That's not the same voice, though, is it?
No, it's not. So-
Yeah, that's some
close.
guy.
Either that or the battery on this little robot.
Now, when I was less familiar with robots, I confused Robby the Robot with the Lost in Space robot.
How could you?
Danger, Will Robinson.
Did you wear a helmet as a child? I'm just curious because
but
they are completely different.
But James brings
now
up,
I understand that, but when I was younger, I thought the Lost in Space robot was called Robby. What was the name of the Lost in Space robot?
yeah, I always forget that too.
Fred.
What is his
Fred.
name?
Actually, there's a debate about this because actually there's two different names. There's one name that people. First of all, everyone says, "Well, his name is Robot." That's what everyone calls him on Lost
He's
in
like
Space.
B17 or something, right?
Y
the
something?
YM3 is the first one, and the other is B9. Those are the two.
Now, where do those
they come from? Yeah.
originate from? Is that like
Hell if I know.
Yeah,
It's-
Mr. Robot. Seem to know everything about robots.
No, where do I come off saying that I'm like the person who knows
I like
everything
how-
about
I said
robots?
that.
I like how
Yeah,
like
we bestowed that on you, and now you must live up to our horrible
how-
expectations.
Let me tell you. James did jump onto something here. Look, it's really interesting. I think one of the greatest looking robots is Robby the Robot, but also the Lost in Space robot.
Yeah, it's a pretty
I think
cool robot,
The
too.
funny thing, it was designed by the same guy.
That's right.
right,
Yes,
right.
that is true.
And my understanding is the designer. But the designer.
X23, I think.
No,
was his name.
no. When they were
he was
designing
called
Robby,
Robot in school when he was bullied.
He had some ideas for Robby which they didn't use. And
Oh,
so when
really?
he was brought in to do Lost in Space, he used some of those ideas
okay.
for the Lost in Space
The
robot.
reject
Can I say
idea.
something about Robby? And this is a big thing for me. Like that, this is everybody has like that thing that they want to get when they get a lot of money, or if they ever got famous or whatever.
Right.
And
Or rob a bank.
yeah, and go on a killing spree, that kind of thing. But like if I had the money to do this, I would get the top of the line. There's a guy named Fred Barton.
Fred Barton.
who
Yeah.
makes these full size
Yeah.
animatronic
There-
with
well, there's
light.
three versions.
Yeah, and I want the top of the line one. It
That's
can't
Robby the
be
Robot,
anything
right?
else
Yeah.
but that. It has to be that.
It's funny because I actually talked to him at a show once. So there's these three versions. There's this top of the line that you're talking about. Basically, it stands there and it's remote control. It moves its head. It has all the pistons and it actually talks.
And you could put a CD in it
Yes.
and all kinds of
the
stuff.
Second version, the second version down, it talks. It kind of moves a little bit. Doesn't have everything, but it still lights up. Then there's this third version. This is. It's like for 16, 17 grand, and it's like, look, it's the introduction,
And it just lights up, right?
no, it doesn't even light up.
Doesn't even do that?
No, and I'm
What?
looking at it, and I asked him about it. I go, what? Why would you want a robot that doesn't even light up? And
Yeah,
I mean,
For losers.
well,
Some
that's-
loser
yeah,
looking to buy a Robby the
17
Robot.
grand.
Like, oh, nice Robby the Robot, asshole.
well,
Wow.
But-
Apparently things aren't going too well.
no, those two are like really cool robots.
Yeah, those are
But wait.
iconic robots.
I want to say one more thing about Robby.
Yes.
And that is because around the time of the first financial collapse, and I don't mean the Great Depression, but you would think that everything now is going to be cheaper because people want to sell their stuff and get some money.
Yeah.
And so I would go online and I thought maybe this was the time to pick up one of these Fred Barton type robots. I think they got more expensive.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing. So folks, if you're instead of buying gold, buy robots.
Yeah.
The robot bubble is impenetrable.
Yeah, great antique toy robots. Though, they do seem to be going up in value as.
And the thing about Robby, though, and even the Lost in Space robot, is that you kind of, even today, though, you buy them as robots. Like, they're kind of, you know what I mean? Like, they could be in a new movie today, and you're like, that's a cool robot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not really dated. They don't look like, oh, it looks like a cheap guy in a suit. I mean, they look really cool still.
Yeah, but Sean, I tell you something that really bugged me though was I mean the design, and the gentleman's name is Robert. Gosh, I've been drinking too much. I'm so sorry. But this is such a cool design.
Sonny Chiba?
And then in the Lost in Space movie, they tried to.
for God's sake.
They make this robot.
Don't even bother talking
Oh
about
my
that
God,
piece of
it's-
crap.
It
Oh,
looks
I
like a
hate-
Roomba.
Yes, it
yeah,
does.
it does. It was a complete waste of time
It
and money
was, and one of those little.
in every aspect.
Yeah, I just
It's
hate
like,
that
why would
robot.
you remake something and change the most iconic thing in it?
Yeah, well, thank God they haven't remade Forbidden Planet yet. Yeah, people
There's
have
been
like,
talks. There were talks
they've been
of
threatening
doing
to do for the last several years. Hopefully that will never happen.
But there are a lot of other movies that have a bunch of other
Well,
really cool.
I want to tell you, as far as 50s robots, one of my favorite robots, a very different kind of robot, Kronos.
Oh, good one.
Kronos is a great, very, very different kind of movie. This is like 1957, atomic age robot. And it's really basically aliens send down this like giant kind of cube-shaped, it's basically just like several cubes like lined with pistons, and it kind of moves. It's just like this huge giant machine just kind of like roaming across the countryside.
And what is it? Do you remember? Like, because it's been a while since I've seen the movie. Like, what? I forget what its purpose was.
It was absorbing all the power sources on Earth to take back to the alien planet.
All right.
So it was just kind of methodically marching across the countryside. Going from one power source to another, absorbing power plants and everything. And it was completely unstoppable. And it actually absorbed energy. So like, no matter what firepower you threw at it, and they started dropping atomic bombs on it, and it just made it stronger. But great movie. Like, just this like force of nature. Like, like I said, it was just a plain kind of smooth looking cube, but it was really menacing.
And wasn't it animated? Some of it was
parts of it were animated.
Yeah, the bottom of it, right? The sort of piston part.
Pistons, like just really cool, very, very unique. Even to this day, nothing's really been done like that.
Yeah.
Really cool robot.
It's Jeff Morrow, isn't he?
Jeff Morrow's in it. Kind of a great atomic age 50s sci-fi
Well,
movie.
going back to that classic 50s, I think probably the most famous one would be from The Day There Stood Still, and that's Gort.
Of course.
And the
Classic.
great thing about Gort that I love is the shape of him and just the
simplicity.
Look. He's very simple, but he also has a little Art Deco kind of look to him.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And
which makes him hold up over time too.
It actually, yes, and you know what? Fred Barton also makes those too.
Oh, I know. That's number 2.
And get this, you can get 2 versions.
I want the one I want.
Yes, I know. One version is the one that just stands there,
And the other version shoots lasers out and kills people?
the little visor.
The visor goes up.
Nice.
And there's a little blinking light in there. You can hear it.
And the light though does the little flickering thing that it does in the
flickering.
movie.
That's awesome.
Sean,
nice.
I don't know if the laser beam comes out and kills
I wish
people.
it did. That'd
Well,
be so cool.
it's a few bucks more. So
I know some people in the defense industry that can hook
And
me up.
let's not even talk about the remake of that movie.
Oh, I don't. No, don't even go there. Don't even. Again, another
complete waste
What are they
of time
doing?
and money.
Maybe
Yeah.
the golden age of robots is, it passed in the 50s.
I don't
Maybe
know.
so.
Let's not poo-poo on Star Wars.
Yeah, that Star Wars introduced a
I'm
whole new
not familiar with
generation
that.
of
Where do I start?
believable robots.
Star Wars brought it back and gave us, the impetus for Buck Rogers and Tweaky and Dr. Thermopolis.
That's
for
true.
Which we can
Tweaky.
thank.
Larry, what are your feelings on Tweaky? I want to hear what your
Sean,
thoughts are on Tweaky.
I am not the biggest fan of Tweaky. I'll never forget seeing that little groovy. I'm like, oh god, I just wanted to take a bat and smack him over the head.
No, Mel Blanc, of course, did the voice.
Yes,
for
which
Tweaky.
I'm a big fan
Right.
of Mel.
What about the visual design of Tweaky? I thought it was kind of charming.
Just a creepy little robot boy.
Robot mongoloid.
What was there was another robot on Buck Rogers, the one that had his little arms. That
Oh
goes,
yeah, that was the second season.
Yeah, what was that
It was
guy's
like
name?
Jonathan Harris.
It was
with his-
terrible.
I actually like that one better
Really?
than
Okay.
Tweaky.
Oh yeah, but do you remember there was one episode of Buck Rogers that had like a female Tweaky in it, and she went
Beady.
She went booty booty.
Oh,
instead
booty,
of
booty,
beady,
oh,
beady,
of
beady.
course, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh
Yeah.
my god!
And she kind of got a crush on Tweaky. It was
Yeah.
cute.
Well, we're talking.
And then Tweaky got really excited and then just sprayed her with batteries.
Yeah, the battery shot out.
If we're gonna, as far as goofy-looking robots go, I would actually go back to the Black Hole with Vincent.
Oh, yeah, Vincent.
Now, see,
Yeah.
when that film came out, I know this was Disney's answers to Star Wars.
Right.
And he had those big bubbly eyes, and the little
and
bubble
voiced
head.
by
None other than
Roddy McDowell, right.
And you know who voiced Old Bob?
Oh yeah, Slim
Slim
Pickens.
Pickens.
Right? Now I had to admit, Vincent and Old Bob. Yes, they were a little cartoony looking, but I really did like. Was it Maximilian?
Maximilian, yeah.
Kind of the
that's a
red,
great
bad
robot.
That was
That's
a
a cool
beautiful
robot.
The rest of them are pretty cool, but I would even say even Vincent, Old Bob is the one I really had the problem with because Old Bob was beat up, but it was like he was molded beat up. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Let's make a beat up this design.
Really?
Yeah.
This is the first one that came off the assembly line floor?
right.
When it comes to robots that were influenced by Star Wars, and you're probably going to hate me for saying this, but I'm not a fan of Bubo.
This is
affection.
Clash of the
my
Titans?
wife, you're dead to my
Oh
wife.
my
affection for Bubo.
Does
because I have
Bubo really
affection for Harryhausen.
Actually, Bubo
Is he
was
really a
was
robot?
endowed with life from the gods, though.
Yeah.
That's not a robot.
but it was
Is he
a
really a-
mechanical
Endowed
thing.
with life by the
No, he-
supernaturally by the gods.
No, he definitely qualifies as a robot.
But you see, this is what we're talking about. This topic is kind of interesting because it's like, what makes up a robot?
Right,
well,
right.
wait a minute. So then is
Look, my reason for not liking Bubo was because I didn't think he belonged in a movie about mythological beasts. I don't think that.
so
But this was still coming off of this popularity of Star Wars. I think they wanted an
Yes.
R2D2 style
That makes it
sidekick
even
in the
worse.
movie.
But if Bubo had his own show, is that what you're saying? Like that would be better? Like
Saturday morning
Bubo, it's Bubo.
well, then I would have accepted it on its own terms.
And Tweaky could be the neighbor.
Bubo adores a minuet.
God.
Well, speaking, I'd like to talk about another film that actually was a precursor to some of the Star Wars robots. Actually, some of the most convincing robots, I think, in cinema, and that were Huey, Dewey, and Louie from Silent Running.
Great
Drone
robots.
1, Drone 2, and Drone
Yes.
3.
Bruce
Now, this
Stern,
was 1972.
Douglas
Kind
Trumbull.
of one of the first environmentalist films. It was kind of like in the future where all of the forests and trees were kind of ravaged by nuclear pollution,
And the only music you could get was Joan Baez.
yeah, it was like a horrible future.
No, wait. At the time, that was a happening
but
song.
So,
okay.
so in the future,
What
then they
the-
had these
Why don't you
spaceships.
just put on a dress?
They had these spaceships, and the only surviving forests were in these domes in spaceships, being kept in spaceships, and these drones would kind of tend to the gardens and the forests. And anyway, these robots were these kind of like triangular shaped two-legged robots, and they're actually played by amputees who were walking with their hands, their arms. And they're a little bit kind of precursors to R2D2, but they were completely like they didn't look humanoid at all.
And they look believable. They're not
Very
cartoony
believable.
in any
Right.
way.
No,
look
they were
like
great. Yeah.
functional robots.
Sean, when I saw those, I thought those were real robots.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
I saw
they're that
I
good.
had
They're
no
amazing.
idea
Yeah, they're
how
that
they
good.
made those robots move, and I just assumed that they're real
Yeah,
robots.
and actually they were imbued with like personality too in the film, and it was really
Again, in a
really
very
convincing.
realistic way, in a
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a cartoony way.
Yeah, that was kind of groundbreaking for robots in cinema. I
So
thought.
if we're talking about the 70s, we got to go to a movie that is I know a lot of on the list of a lot of our guilty pleasures, and that is the movie Logan's Run. Now there is a robot called Box who lives in a Arctic world. Now again, we're looking at the sort of qualification, is this a robot? Because I guess in the book he's a cyborg, but in that movie he's definitely a robot. He sparks.
Yeah,
and
I thought of him as a robot.
Yeah, and
completely.
he clicks and he's very robotic. But a great robot played by Roscoe Lee Brown, and with the great weird dialogue. He talks about fish and plankton and sea greens. It's all here, fresh from the sea, fresh as harvest day.
I have to admit though, I don't consider that a great robot though. I love the movie, but to me that robot is just plain silly and completely unconvincing. You're supposed to believe that this robot Box has captured all these runners.
Yeah.
And if we see he's freezing them and storing them,
Yeah.
but how he's the most uncoordinated, slow-moving robot you've ever seen, and how you're supposed to. You see Jessica and Logan kind of run away with him from him very easily.
That's a
You
good
just,
point.
You can just tip him down and just knock him
That's
over.
why it's a
Silly.
guilty pleasure.
But Sean,
Yeah.
see, that's why I bought it, because he doesn't seem to be threatening, and see, that's how
But he's kind of like a deranged, kind of senile old box
That's what
walking.
when I saw the film, and he seemed very simple, very easy, very mundane.
But he's not threatening. But he's supposed to be considered threatening in the movie, and to me, he's just silly.
Well, I didn't
know.
see him as that. To me, I actually thought of him as actually being a little creepy. And
Yeah,
that's like,
creepy uncle.
And that
Creepy robot uncle.
I wasn't totally afraid of him, and then when he shows up to be the "Hey, let me freeze you" kind of a thing,
Right.
and then I can understand how all these runners fell for him, because he didn't seem to be threatening.
Right, I guess,
So
yeah. I mean, I love the movie. It's definitely a favorite 70s sci-fi movie.
So
but I
with
always felt
Larry's
that way.
explanation of that, now you realize that Logan's Run could happen and might have
Right.
already happened.
Right, exactly.
I mean, if you want to talk about goofy robots, what about like from Target Earth? with Richard
one of my
Denning.
favorites.
But you know what? Though?
One of my
It's so
favorites.
strange,
Love
though.
it.
It's such
the
a- I
TV
kinda-
screen head.
Yeah.
I love that robot.
I kind of buy that robot because it's so
More so-
odd and
really?
otherworldly looking.
Really?
Yeah, it is. I think that one is
I
ominous.
like that one. It's
Yeah.
kind of. It also helps with the whole mood of that
Did
movie.
you see his little feet?
Well, yeah, but it's like
has little feet.
It's creepy though. But that to me is creepy and threatening. Box is not. You know, that's just the way I
The
feel.
box is chrome. He's got a chrome head, and he moves about.
Yeah, and he's all shiny and
he's
reflective.
Shiny.
And
He's shiny.
he
and
lives in
new.
ice.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Can we all agree
Who does
on-
that anymore?
Can we all agree on maybe the worst robot movie ever made and the worst robot and jump to the 80s, 1986?
Wait.
Are we about to piss off
Wait,
Wally Winger?
I don't know where you're going with this, but go ahead.
Short Circuit by John Badham.
Oh well, no,
no.
I mean, it's the
going,
worst robot
yes.
ever.
You're going.
Yes.
We're talking the
E.T. ripoff.
E.T. ripoff.
E.T. ripoff.
I don't
E.T.
know
with
if-
robots.
I don't know if I'm going to say the worst robot ever.
Well,
No.
because
Johnny
it was-
5 is a lie.
It's a bad movie, but I would not say that it's a horrible robot because it actually looks like
It's got
a
Steve Gutenberg
functional
in it, for
robot.
God's sake.
Okay.
James, if you want to
Okay,
talk about
no,
what about
I'll buy that, but the whole genesis of the thing, you know, it's an ET ripoff.
No,
It's
no.
freaking annoying.
Yeah, no, it's an annoying movie, but I would say
okay.
that is not necessarily a bad
Okay,
robot.
The design of the robot,
Yeah, I
the
think you're right.
implementation might have its virtues, but
that's
the
the-
movie
yeah.
itself and
Yes.
how it was so cynically put together as an ET ripoff.
No, you're right. You're right. There's a difference between the movie itself versus the conception of the robot.
Maybe,
right.
Maybe the
See,
design
I
of the
believe
robot
it as a
is-
robot.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Well,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. I thought you
agree.
guys were going to talk about heartbeeps.
That's what
Yeah,
I thought.
that's what I
That's
thought,
what I
yeah.
thought you were going to go to.
Maybe
Yeah.
86 was a bad year for robots.
Yeah, was that 86? Yeah, that was a bizarre one.
By the way, Fisher Stevens plays an engineer like from India in Short Circuit, and it's so offensive of a stereotypical portrayal. It's astonishing. I don't know if you can get away with it today. I hope not.
Yeah, it's like every time the camera goes back to him, he's in a 7-Eleven. Like, how could that even happen?
Like that, yeah.
That's
that
just racist.
Well, if
Heartbeat stuff. I don't know what audience that movie was made for. I don't know what they were.
Yeah,
going
no-
at. That's
no
such
one-
an oddity.
no one at all.
It's such an
No one-
oddity. It really is.
Okay,
It's a bizarre movie.
All right, now I want to get to one of my favorite robots that people will again argue that this is not necessarily a robot, but I think it is. The Daleks from Doctor Who.
I think it's a robot.
You think it's a robot?
But explain why you don't think
Well, this
some
is
people
why I
have
think
it.
the-
Because
I
what-
thought-
what is a Dalek?
Because a Dalek is a mechanical thing that it's a robot that basically looks like a pepper shaker that has bumps on the outside that look like half of like a legs pantyhose container all over it. And then it has this sort of turret on the top that has a eye stalk thing, and then it has a laser pistol, and then it has like this plunge. It looks like a toilet plunger. That's its hand.
But
And-
it's really
and
isn't
you
it
would
really
think-
a robotic housing?
it's
in
a
way for
robotic
something
housing
inside, right?
for a mutant that's inside it.
Right.
But the mutant has been genetically created to not have any emotions. So it's been it in itself is almost a robot. Like
Yeah.
this, it's a robot with an organic brain. That's how I look at it.
See that's how I didn't see the Daleks as a robot because there was something living inside of it. Unlike something like what I got like in Saturn 3 from
I was going to
1980.
bring up Saturn 3
Saturn
too.
3.
Saturn 3 is interesting because
Kirk Douglas, Farrah Fawcett.
yeah, kind of a misunderstood movie. Not a very good movie.
No, but the robot.
The robot's interesting.
Interesting.
He
but I
doesn't
wouldn't
really
say
have that
completely
head.
successful though. Yeah.
But it had cool elements, Sean.
Well, what was cool about it is that it interfaced with the personality of Harvey Keitel's in
Yeah.
it, and Harvey Keitel is this psychotic murderer, and he has the hots for Farrah Fawcett. So the
Well, who wouldn't? at that time?
line.
so the robot actually was like sexually aroused and going after Farrah, and that so it was like
how does that work?
It was like the personality of the bad guy inside the robot. That was kind of interesting, but the robot was kind of odd. It was just. I don't know. That's a movie worth revisiting because
Yeah.
at the time it bombed and it didn't really do
it did
well.
not do well. It did
was
not
kind
do-
of and I know it had a trouble production and went through a couple
Yeah.
different
Yeah, it's
directors.
a teensy
weird-
bit better than I remember.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
But now, do you guys remember that the movie Barbarella? There are leather robots.
Oh, that's right. That's
Robots made entirely of leather, and they have whips.
cool, too.
Yeah, and they're really cool, and they're kind of like dominatrix robots.
You know, it
and
right. Who doesn't like those?
And if Fred Barton makes those,
You're in line, right?
oh yeah,
Well, I wanted to go back to what you're saying about a Dalek, how it houses kind of a brain, an organic brain. Another movie.
A Cockney brain, by the way, if I may say that.
Yes,
Exterminate.
it's true. Well, another movie, great,
Oh, governor.
great movie from the 50s, which along those same lines is The Colossus of New York.
Oh, yes.
Ross Martin.
Yeah.
Yes, now
From the Wild Wild West, Artemis
right.
Gordon.
1958.
it's basically a scientist, is a kind
Love
of
that movie.
genius scientist who's killed. His father, who's also a scientist, takes his brain and puts it into a humanoid robotic body.
That's actually
This
cool.
towering kind of like glowing eyes, kind of roughly kind of shaped kind of human face, but really creepy.
Almost like a golem.
Yeah, kind of like or like a modern day atomic age Frankenstein in a way.
Yeah.
But that too, like that,
Very
that's
creepy.
a robot, but it does have the human brain. But because he's in this kind of unfeeling robot body, he starts to lose his humanity, and he starts to kind of start killing people.
Where's
and,
that action figure,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my god, it would make a great action figure. But that's a great kind of film. But that also kind of is the same thing, where it's like human brain inside a robotic body.
And I think you can have a human type brain. I mean, if you wanted to be a real purist, you would say a robot is something that doesn't have any brain at all. It's pure programming. But where does that
Right,
programming turn into? It's independent thought, I would guess.
right.
Well, a lot of these robots are small robots, but if I want to get big, I'd say one of the coolest, greatest large robot has to be Mecha-Godzilla. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, guys. And
I lean towards Mecha-Kong.
You know what? I still think Mecha-Godzilla could kick Mecha-Kong's ass.
Well, Mecha-Godzilla has far more weapons.
Yes.
Yes,
I mean,
but
what a cool
Mecha-Kong would eat a
monster.
Mecha banana, throw the Mecha peel under its feet.
My god, that'd be awesome.
Mecha-Godzilla is so incredibly cool.
Yeah, it really was. This was that time when like the kind of the villains, the adversaries of Godzilla started to kind of get kind of weird, but then they finally came out with like a really good adversary to Godzilla.
The great thing about Mecha-Godzilla, I mean, it could do so many things.
Yeah.
Like his head could spin all the way around and
fly.
create this force. He could fly.
But he was disguised as a Godzilla
Yes,
first,
originally,
right?
That's right, yeah.
he was, and he can shoot missiles from his toes, from his fingers, and
Awesome.
and what's really neat is there are a lot of great toys of Mecha-Godzilla that have come out over the years. But right now, oh god, there's this toy that I'd love to get, and it's it's a Mecha-Godzilla. I know I don't have this one yet.
It does everything.
It does. It's Sean. It's amazing,
And that's like $1,000 or more, right?
It's actually more than that.
It's like, what, $2,000
Yeah,
or-
and it's like nearly 2 feet tall,
God.
and it's battery. It's remote control, and it does just about everything.
Christmas is coming up, guys. You know it's on my list.
But Mecha-Godzilla, I think, is
actually,
one of the
I'd say
coolest.
all of the Toho giant monster mechas I actually like.
Well, so
I
there's
like
Mecha-Kong.
I like Mogera from the Mysterians.
Oh, that's right,
A
Mysterians.
very odd, bizarre looking.
Yeah.
Like
a mole
Mogera wasn't even like a big. It wasn't really the star monster of the Mysterians, but a great alien designed, like very strange looking robot, but really cool.
Kind of a cone nose.
Yeah, like a weird mechanical bird.
Answer me this. What is Gigan? Is Gigan a robot?
question.
That is a very good
That's
question.
been haunting me for decades.
For years.
Matt.
No, Matt,
I don't know.
I would have to say,
he's from another planet, so
Yeah.
maybe he's
Seems
partly
to be metallic.
maybe he's
Yeah.
like maybe he's like the alien. He's like a mecha organic. He's kind of like partly organic and part like you know
could be
organic.
cyborg.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
And in
he's
the
kind of
more
cyborg.
recent incarnations, he has buzzsaws and all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff.
See,
So-
that's one reason
hell is
why
he?
I would think that he would be a robot because he has the buzzsaw
Yes.
chest. But like Sean said, I actually don't know, and
I don't
this
know
is
either.
the question that
Where,
has,
where does
has
he come from? Star Hunter M
bugged me for
universe.
years.
But I love me some Gigan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
In the 90s, Toho took Mecha-Godzilla and Mogera, and they made them human-controlled weapons to
Right,
fight
right.
the kaiju.
That's right. Yes.
It was never all that successful or all that convincing, but I want to bring up Pacific Rim. Where, for the first time, in my experience, you have humans controlling robots, and it's actually entertainingly done and really involving.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Love that movie. Yeah. And the people that don't like it don't get it.
Right.
I've never seen a Japanese horror movie or anime or anything like that. That thing is such a love letter to that entire genre.
Right. And from what I've heard, it's also partly based on a manga or an anime where something similar is going on, where you've got humans controlling robots from the inside, heavily influenced. I'm not familiar with what it is.
which was
but-
always a popular thing in Japanese entertainment, like with the the early 70s
Giant robot.
giant robot and stuff like that. Right,
Right.
The Space Giants.
right.
But
right.
All great robots.
I
But
love
in
Space
Pacific
Giants.
Yeah, me
Rim,
too.
you're in there with the people who
Right.
are fighting the giant monsters, and you're following it, and you're very, very involved. It's effective.
Another great monster, great robot who's large. It's actually animated film, and that is the Iron Giant.
Oh yes,
That's from 1999. Brad Bird,
Amazing movie.
Great
robot.
Vin Diesel, the voice
Vin Diesel,
of
in his only non-douchey role.
It's such a great design.
Yeah,
and
the
actually,
movie really was a surprise. Kind of came out as a surprise for everybody. It was just really well made, really beautiful film.
Either badly marketed or people didn't get it because they were expecting something else. It's a little bit, I think, more adult than it was marketed.
Yeah,
it is.
It's a great anti-war film, actually.
Yeah. Well, so a complete failure here.
Speaking of animated robots, there's one robot I've always had a pet peeve about. It's, I think, one of the worst
Pet peeve?
conceptualized robots ever.
Okay.
And this is a 60s Hanna-Barbera cartoon called Frankenstein Jr.
All right, get out.
All right, let me explain this. This is a 30-foot tall robot that fights evil guys and fights monsters and supervillains. He's a robot, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so why does he have stitches? He has stitches. He's made of metal. He has stitches in his head. He wears a raggedy shirt. So they made a shirt for this robot. But most ridiculous of all, the robot is wearing a mask to hide his identity. He's wearing a Lone Ranger type mask across his face. He's trying to protect his. I don't get it.
I have answers for every single one of these questions.
Please explain to me.
Okay, first of all, the stitches and the raggedy clothes. That is because the person that invented him was a Frankenstein monster fan.
So he purposely, to fight evil, he makes a giant robot that is designed after this evil,
to be scary,
misshapen abomination
to be
of
scary
science.
to the bad guys, like Batman.
He made a Frankenstein action figure. Is that
But
what?
why?
Yes, but
why is he wearing a mask?
Okay, the
is
mask-
he trying to
the mask
protect
I can-
his identity.
Fetish role playing.
Okay, maybe that explains
Yes.
it. But is he a superhero? Is he a monster? Or is he a robot?
Yes. Next question.
I think it took a total of about 3 minutes from somebody at Hanna-Barbera to think up that character.
And you know what, Sean? The best 3 fucking minutes ever.
Okay.
The only good thing about it is that it's voiced by Ted Cassidy, who did Lurch. That was cool.
Hey, Buzz.
Yeah, he was.
Okay, well, speaking of
But
animated
ridiculous
robots,
robot.
let me throw this at you. Well, what did you think about the film from 2008, Wall-E? There's
Oh,
an
great
Just-
robot. It's the first half of that movie. In fact, I love the most. It's Wall-E by himself
It's like-
on the planet is just
Like
beautiful
poetry. It's just
fantastic.
Yeah.
No, it's a great.
yeah.
great
I mean,
robot.
and again, that's a movie that sort of pushes. It's so much more than you expect it to be.
Yeah.
It becomes like, wow, this is real art. This is somebody
It took
genuinely cared
It
about
took
this.
more than 3 minutes to come up with this, buddy.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is true. Yes.
One I'd like to throw out there, going back way to the 30s. A ridiculous but great looking monster robot from a serial called The Phantom Creeps.
Is that the garbage can one looking one? or-
No. This is the big, bald-headed, scowling kind of face.
Yeah,
evil
big bald
face
headed,
robot.
sort of like an evil Mr. Clean kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like Bela Lugosi's a mad scientist. He's trying, he has all these crazy inventions, and he has this big 8-foot tall robot. He just walks around, doesn't do much, but he looks so cool. And it's just a great, evil-looking, scowling robot.
And when I saw Rob Zombie, because I saw his show,
Yeah,
and he actually brings that robot.
Yeah.
out
Are you
on
serious?
Stage.
yeah,
Yes.
he made a recreation of it, and it's in one of his videos too.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Great robot. Just
Well,
really
also
cool.
another evil robot going a little further back from 1927, Fritz Lang's Metropolis. You have
of
the
course.
Maria
Maria,
robot,
yeah.
which is the funny thing about her is not only she's an evil robot, but she is one hot looking robot.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
even when the skin comes off, you're like, I'd still do that.
And by the way, Fred Barton.
show me the port.
Fred Barton has those too. By the way, Matt.
I know,
I
that-
think
but
there's
that
just
one doesn't- that one
there's-
doesn't do anything,
No,
though,
it's just
right?
one version. It's just one version of that.
It doesn't even come with a fleshlight or anything.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. How about since I guess if we're going to say that robots are something that doesn't have something living in it, that means RoboCop doesn't really count.
I'd say he's more cyborg.
It's on the line.
Yeah.
It is way more cyborg, but I would argue that RoboCop it's a lot like the Dalek thing in my mind,
Yeah.
or the Colossus of New York.
Yeah, it's so funny. I remember just loving that film, and it was so cool the way Verhoeven directed this film. You know, when the character is after he's killed, and then when he comes back, you have this little static visual imagery that he's looking at.
Right.
And I thought that was so cool. In a way, I felt like, oh my god, this is what like a robot would be like when it's coming to life. You know, what it's
which
viewing.
is which I guess strange. That movie echoes a lot. Colossus of New York. That movie has that same kind of beginning where he's coming to, and you're seeing it from his video. It's amazing. Actually, there's a lot of similarities between those two films.
I think that it's fair to say there's a lot of repetition in the whole robot genre of, you know, the question of how much of artificial intelligence is human and how much of it is coming from an artificial side, which RoboCop, I mean, you did, you know, find yourself wondering with that character. You know, is the robot side taking over? How much of it is still him?
Right.
And there's a if you think about it, there's a lot of robot movies that have that.
Along those lines, here is one from it's a TV movie. It was actually meant to be a pilot, a Gene Roddenberry pilot called The Quester Tapes. With Robert Foxworth, and this is a robot that ends up sort of finishing itself.
Wasn't it a computer?
It's made from a template from this sort of crazy mad scientist.
He's trying to kind of seek out his creator.
Yeah, and he ends up finishing himself, making himself look. At first, he looks like sort of like Odo from Deep Space Nine, blank,
no
sort of features. But then he finishes his whole face, and he looks like Robert Foxworth, and then goes looking for his creator. And it's a lot of fun. He goes to Vegas, and he ends up. They need money, so he fixes the fixed dice in the corrupt casino, and
it would have made an interesting series. Actually, too bad that it didn't become a series.
But as a little TV movie, it's a step ahead.
Well, going back to television for 1978, Battlestar Galactica had,
of course, the Cylons.
I mean, the
those
Cylons,
are robots,
and those are great looking robots. You know, some people got really upset that they're too much like stormtroopers. You know what? Because they were chrome, I was fine with that. I thought they looked good. But what I did have an issue with, though, was the little Daggett. Oh God!
Really?
Yeah, I did. I have a problem.
You know
with that.
I'm with you, but now with years back, it's like how I like when Lost in Space first came out.
Yeah,
I had a little bit of trouble with that as a kid when it got too silly.
Yeah. The gloop, the monkey.
Whatever.
Thing,
I mean, name the episode. You know,
the Carrot Man.
Yeah, the Carrot Man. Of course, it's a great vegetable rebellion. But when we get to the Daggett, back then I thought, oh, that's just silly.
Yeah,
that's obviously there's a chimp suffocating in that thing.
Yeah.
But now with years between it, I find it kind of charming.
Well, the Cylons to me always made sense. I mean, but the Daggett, he kind of.
And how about Lucifer?
Actually, Lucifer. Actually,
I liked him.
I liked him too,
voiced by Jonathan Harris.
Oh, he was great. Bio Command. Yeah, but he had the colorful brain. I just thought that was so cool. So I really
he was like that great robot mid-management.
He was kind of like the effeminate Cylon in a way.
Bio Command.
No, not on television, but a feature film that was done like a year before. And I'm not sure if this really qualifies as a robot. But guys, you remember Demon Seed?
Yeah,
1977.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
And that is not a creature, but he's kind of
a computer, a supercomputer, right?
But
he
has
a lot
of robotic elements
stuff.
to him.
Yeah.
And it creeped me out.
Oh yeah, it was a computer that wanted to experience procreation.
Yeah.
So basically trapped Julie Christie in her own house, took over all the controls, and basically raped
she's
her.
Pretty hot, but I felt guilty. You're watching
it's just a disturbing movie, but very well done.
Yeah. We can't talk about robots without bringing up Westworld and Future World.
Oh my gosh! What have we been doing for the past 30 minutes?
All you have to do is say Westworld, and it just makes me happy.
Oh my god!
I love that movie so much, especially Future World.
I kind of have a soft spot.
I have
for
a soft
Future
spot,
World,
but it's not a great movie.
No,
but
it's like a fun
but
TV
Westworld
movie.
is
Westworld
amazing.
is great.
Yeah.
And talk about a movie that holds up too. Like I've watched that recently.
Yul Brynner.
And it is so good. It's
it really is.
And the idea, what that movie does really well is how lighthearted it is up until everything goes wrong. Right. Like it's almost a flat out comedy.
Well, that's kind of like a lot of movies.
Turns.
A lot of films from the best films from the 70s like that. It just makes me think of Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Same thing. I know we're off topic here, but like kind of a fun, like they're the talk of the town, the apes, and then it gets really dark.
Dark.
And,
Yeah.
That's how Westworld is. Yeah, it's really well done.
But I love Westworld.
And if anyone hasn't seen this movie,
oh, guys, gotta go out.
gotta go out because
Yeah.
you will
Really
not
good.
be disappointed. It's still, considering that it's a film from the 70s, still entertaining, still fun. The robot stuff really
Concept
works
is
well.
great. Yeah.
Suspenseful.
Yeah.
Delos.
And scary.
Yeah.
Now, how many people have seen the short-lived TV series Beyond Westworld?
Was there
There's about 8 episodes. No, that was it. Oh, it kind of was along the same lines of the future role. It was like a bad guy trying to replace all the prominent citizens of the world with robot doubles. Not very good.
Yeah.
But
it was about as
Westworld
good
was
as the Animal House TV show.
Well, look,
Delta House.
Delos House.
well,
Yeah.
we've been talking about some great classic robots, and I know the people out there are going to be upset if we don't bring this up, but I'm not a fan of this next thing, but I know there are a lot of people that are. Transformers. Transformers. It's like
I mean, the robots.
yeah. They're robots.
Talk about a concept like you have problems with Frankenstein Jr. Why do aliens from another planet look like our cars?
Well, they're supposed to be disguised. I mean, they're disguising
I-
themselves as cars and tanks.
But
and
you're a
stuff like
giant
that.
robot. You don't need
Yeah,
to disguise
I
yourself from
know,
anybody.
I know.
Just take
Sure,
over the
yeah.
I
planet.
mean, it is a huge franchise. I mean, they've got 3
Yeah,
films, a ride at Universal Studios.
So
and-
clearly based on a toy, though.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
Although I have to say that ride at Universal Studios is awesome.
So is it? I have to check that out.
Really fun.
There's something about the whole nature of giant robots, though. If you can create a robot that's that big and you're using it to fight, I don't know, monsters or other robots, if you have the technology for that, then you have the technology to destroy those things to begin with. So you might as well. I mean, why create?
Right, just make a laser. Right?
If you can make Mecha Kong, I think you can create a weapon to kill Kong. Okay, I don't think you have to create. A
You go
robot
through the trouble of making a robot that looks like an ape.
Yeah.
How about a really big harpoon?
Yeah. That'll do it.
Call me old-fashioned, but when you see these giant robots and they move all these parts and pieces and turn into this like car, I prefer something a little bit more basic, a little more classic, and something like in Earth versus the Flying Saucers from '56, Harryhausen. The simple little robot characters, a little.
Well, those
Are
actually
they
aren't robots.
are not robots? Larry?
They're aliens housed within suits made of solidified
Yeah,
electricity.
they are actual aliens. They're not cyborgs.
Yeah.
They're aliens.
I stand
Thanks
corrected.
for ruining the show.
They look a lot like
I stand
robots,
corrected.
but yeah.
Thanks,
I know
guys.
the simplicity, like to me, like Kronos, or just like these like stark kind of like simple like kind of designs are kind of cool.
Yeah.
And
like
you thought
for
I knew
example,
everything.
like the
Apparently
classic
not.
robots from Legally Blonde. Reese Witherspoon's robot in that is so iconic.
Totally.
What about Blade Runner? I know that they're.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking of bringing this
Are-
up
are they
because they
robots, then?
are kind of robots.
Well, they're
They're
synthetic.
if
synthetic
anything they're
humans.
if anything they're androids.
Well,
Yes,
can
they're
I?
androids.
Okay, if okay, I understand why
They're not
the
cyborgs.
the creatures in Earth vs. Flying Saucers aren't, but when they get shot, they bleed, right? So it's like it's artificial. It's not real, but it is like a blood. It's not like
Yeah, but Joanna Cassidy did spasms and didn't she short circuit or
So
something?
wouldn't she be?
I almost looked at them more like clones in a way.
Pris.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she died.
Yeah.
She went nuts. Yeah.
well, I mean, and now we get into the whole thing that they often use in robot movies or android movies, which is, or it's like the Star Trek: The Next Generation. Where does it go from
Right,
being a
right.
machine to being an actual life, or Battlestar Galactica, the new one?
AI.
AI, of course, one of the
yeah.
greatest.
So you didn't like AI?
I thought it was good.
It's hard. It's really hard.
It is.
to
It's
like
so
this
awful.
movie, you know?
It had a neat It was a neat concept.
Yeah, Kubrick's.
Yeah.
For Steven Spielberg to make a movie where there's a teddy bear walking around alive.
Imagine that.
And it's still
Imagine him
depressing
coming
enough-
up with that.
And it's still depressing enough for you to want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
There's a problem
Yeah, yeah.
there.
Yeah,
So
and you know
I
what?
guess
You
it
know-
worked.
Yeah, and like you know what I really want out of a robot movie is Robin Williams doing his overacting thing again. Yeah,
Bicentennial Man is what?
Bicentennial.
well, that's two then. That's two.
Yeah, right.
Two
You're right.
bad robot movies from Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Williams.
What was
Yeah,
the other
right.
one?
AI.
Robin Williams.
Oh,
Well, he's
that's
not
right.
really a robot. He's a program.
He's a
He's a program in that theater thing.
It's
that they
all
go to
coming
ask
back to me.
Mr. Hilarious.
I'll take
all
any
good.
episode of Frankenstein Jr. over watching AI again.
Thank you very much.
I think I'm going to go out and watch Frankenstein Jr.
Yeah.
right now, in fact.
Yeah. Huh? What? What? I am malfunctioning. All right, last thoughts then.
Wow.
Another bad robot I'd say would be Wiki. Not Tweaky, but Wiki from
Wikipedia?
Jason of Star Command. This was a
I remember
Yes,
him.
No, but no, okay.
Yeah.
There was a Space
Wait,
Academy.
Space Academy,
which
what-
had Peepo.
That's
which,
it.
Which was which
Peepo.
wasn't which wasn't
Peepo.
not Peepo.
No, I know. I
Peepo.
liked him.
No, Peepo was fine. Peepo was an actual
He was a
remote
real
control
robot.
But Jason of Star Command was a spin-off of Space Academy, and and this robot, it was called Wiki or W1K1, and it was literally a little wind-up novelty toy. It was a little 6-inch thing that floated around. It may as well have been like a pair of plastic chattering teeth.
Oh my
That's
God.
all it
I'm
was.
going to have to.
It was
I'm
this
gonna go
little
out and
walking
get that
wind. It was
Okay,
a wind
wait a
up
minute
toy.
now. That's
all it was.
Brings up another good point. Are the plastic chattering teeth robots? I would say yes.
Yes.
They are.
And they are
Yeah.
taking over.
Yeah. They are programmed to do a job, and they do it well.
And we also have to do a shout out to Astro Boy, which is a tremendously
Boy.
significant Japanese manga and anime.
Yeah, Robot Pinocchio.
Exactly.
Totally.
Exactly.
I mean, literally, that is the story.
Yeah.
Created, and it's such a dark origin story, too, where
Yeah.
this scientist's son is killed in a car accident. And so, out of grief, he makes this robot boy that he ends up giving away. Oh, the Japanese.
Yeah. You gotta love 'em.
Larry?
I love Robby the Robot. I think he's one of the coolest robots ever made.
Can I be of service, sir?
Yes, you can end this show.
All right.
Wow. What happened to you?
This has
We're
been-
all having a,
this has been great.
I get it. So Larry's out of robots, and now he's going to take his robot ball and go home. I can't think of any more robots, so we got to end the show. You
I
know,
love
my
Robby.
favorite robot is it's a mechanical thing. It's called my heart. Yeah, yeah. I go through the
Tin Man.
motions. I go through the motions, but it fools a lot of people.
Fooled me.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was another great, fun robot fest. And
Thank you for that.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
No, right back at you. This concludes.
I am monitored to respond to the name Robby.
I think his
That's-
battery's going.
That's Larry making the show even longer than he wanted to end earlier with a robot voice of someone who's not actually Robby. Okay, better, much better. All right, everybody, watch horror films.
Keep America strong.
In the future.